Welcome back. It's time for another anime review. Another anime I've been meaning to watch for a while now. Okay, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I am, of course, talking about Puella Magi Madoka Magica, or Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica, or Magical Girl Madoka Magica, whichever you prefer. I'm not really sure what the correct Japanese title is supposed to be like. Sometimes it goes by Puella Magi Madoka Magica, sometimes it goes by Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica, so I don't know. But I'm going to be calling, at least in the title of this video, Magical Girl Madoka Magica. Now, this is, well, first off, the specifics. It was directed by Akiyuki Shimbo, which I'm really surprised because this is the only work of Akiyuki Shimbo I've ever seen, and by that I mean I've only actually seen one, but I've seen clips of others, that didn't use his weird art style and camera angles and stuff. So I was actually really surprised to find out that this was actually done by Akiyuki Shimbo. And it was produced by Atsuhiro Iwakami, and written by Genro Buchi, and the music's by Yuki Kadra, and it's by Studio Shaft. And it originally ran from January 7th, 2011 to April 21st, 2011, with a total of 12 episodes in the end. This review is not counting any of the films because I haven't watched them yet, although when I do watch them, I do plan on reviewing each one of them individually. Okay, I just haven't watched them as of yet, as of this review. Although I do understand that the first two are just recaps, and the third one's an all-new original story, but I haven't watched any of them yet. Anyways, though, so really, I've been meaning to watch the series for a while, simply because it was really the first actual deconstruction of the magical girl genre. Okay. And by that I mean it's a magical girl series, yes, but it's actually very dark. And it really plays off as, at first these girls want to become magical girls, but eventually they regret that want horribly. Okay? Although I did have lots of issues with it, though. And I mean, it's not a perfect series by any means. But I still definitely think that it's worth watching. Anyways, though, what's the series about? Well, the series revolves around Madoka Kaname, our main protagonist, who ends up meeting a little cat-like creature one day named Kyube, who asks her if she wants to become a magical girl. However, she actually doesn't right away, but her friend Sayaka does. Oh, and starts to fight basically fight evil as a magical girl. Now, already we walk into the biggest issue with this series that I had. Why does it take so long for Madoka to become a magical girl? And you might be thinking, well, she doesn't right away, but she probably does soon, right? No. Guess what? She doesn't become a magical girl until the last fucking episode. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Now, I know this kind of explained with, Homuru's backstory, and I'll talk about Homura in a little bit here. With her backstory, Homura being from the future, and the fact she was trying to save Madoka, but still, Madoka is not only the main character, but the title character. And yet she does not actually become a magical girl until the last fucking episode. And Tomo's flashbacks don't count because that's a different timeline. That does not fucking count. All that counts is the present timeline, and Madoka does not become a magical girl until the last episode. That was extremely disappointing. I would be fine with her not becoming one right away. Maybe but any more than halfway through the series in a 12-episode series is bullshit. Okay? Really. Your main character in a magical girl series doesn't become a magical girl until the final fucking episode, in which she basically becomes a god and erases all witches from the universe, apparently, which is another inherent issue I had. Not with the simple fact it happened, but something else that has to do with it, which I'll talk about later on in this review. It's just, I don't really see the logic of having your main character in a magical girl series not become a magical girl until the last fucking episode. Really, the first half of the series wasn't even about Madoka. It was about Sayaka. Like, I saw Sayaka as the main character for the first half of the series. I mean, how much it focused on her, how much she was really suffering because of this. And that's one thing I think this series does great. This series is amazing when it's showing you how much these characters are suffering because of Kyubey. Okay. And I did have a problem with Kyubey as well. Not the one that most people do, but I'll get into that later on. But that's really, I think, the best part of the series. It really shows you how the psychological aspects of these characters and how much they're suffering because of what Kyubey did to them. Because of Kyubey tricking them and whatnot, essentially. So, but Madoka herself, I think, is an okay main protagonist. She is very, not bland, I wouldn't say, and I don't like to use the word generic to criticize a character. You should all know this by now. But, because being generic can be good if it's done right. I guess I could use the word generic here because she is very generic and not in the good sense. Like, I thought she was kind of slightly boring, in a sense, because, I mean, I guess you could say it's a bit more realistic in terms of her character because she doesn't understand what's going on around her, and that would probably be normal for anyone her fucking age. So I guess you could argue that, which makes sense. I'm not going to deny that. But still, there was something about her character that just didn't feel right with me. I guess because I just wanted her to take action rather than just sob about it, but it is kind of realistic, I guess, so I can kind of let her go for that, but it's something that I definitely wanted to mention. Sayaka, I really like Sayaka. Like I said, the first half of the series wasn't even about Madoka. It was about Sayaka. Sayaka was literally the main character for the first half of the series up until her death. I don't remember what episode she actually died in. I think it was actually more than half. She basically ended up becoming a witch because the secret behind the magical girls is that they're supposed to fight witches. And they do. However, if they fall too far into despair, which is why Kyubey never really tells them the truth about the magical girls, then their soul gem will will be corrupted and turn into a grief seed, which will, after that, they'll basically turn into witches, and that's what happened to Sayaka, and so they had to kill her, and so she died, essentially. But I really like her character. But my favorite character is actually Homura because you really feel for her. Essentially, she came from a different timeline in which she transferred into Madoka school, and Madoka was already a magical girl. Alright, and Homura ends up seeing that by accident at one point. And so Madoka lets her in, and Homura ends up becoming a magical girl as well. Basically making a contract with Kyubey. However, after they all see what the contract really means, they all end up dying, including Madoka. And so Homura decides to head back and travel through time, essentially, so that she can prevent Madoka from becoming a magical girl and save her. And she's done this many times. However, she eventually, at the end of the series, decides to stop it because she realizes that the more she travels through time to try to protect Madoka, the worse Madoka's fate ends up becoming. It worsens each time. Now, this was not explained exactly why, I don't think, which is another issue that I have with the series, but still, it was definitely interesting how she was, a time-traveling magical girl, essentially. And she was definitely my favorite character in the series. Now let's talk about Kyubey. The issue I had with Kyubey is not what he was doing in general, it's that it didn't really seem to make sense. I'm 20, and it still didn't make sense to me. Because, he claimed that his people, they're an alien race who don't really understand what humans call emotions. Okay, that's fine. He says that the reason he's doing this didn't seem to make sense. He kept spouting nonsense about the weight of the many outweighing the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few. but he didn't really explain what the needs of the many actually meant in this particular context. Okay, you can't just use that like just willy-nilly without explaining it in great detail, and he really didn't. Alright, this really wasn't explained at all, like what he meant by that. Who were these many that he was talking about? Because it couldn't have been a large portion of humanity. I mean, they were doing this to wipe out humanity. So does humanity pose a threat to their race somehow? It made no sense. So it was never properly explained why he wanted to turn all these magical girls into witches. Okay. That's the reason I didn't like Kyubey. Now, that's really all the characters worth talking about. I mean, there are other characters. There's Mami, M-A-M-I. She's another magical girl, the one that introduced Madoka and Sayaka to the world of the magical girls. And there's also Sakura, who's another magical girl, who ends up being enemies with him first, but eventually ends up becoming friends with him. And yeah. So, but really, there's really no other characters worth talking about, I don't think. Now, there are two other aspects of the series that I really want to discuss. First off, actually really just one. It has to do with Homer and at the end of the series. So at the end of the series, supposedly Madoka completely rids all witches from existence. And by this, I mean people forget that witches even existed to begin with, including Kyubey. Alright, and people forgot that Madoka even existed. All except for Homura because of their, I guess, deep friendship. I guess Madoka could control who forgot about her and who didn't. So she probably allowed Homura to remember her. Like, that wasn't properly explained at all. But okay, I can deal with an explanation like that. Because she basically became a god, essentially. Or a goddess, rather. But what was... First off, why was Homura chatting with Madoka's mother? I know Madoka's mom didn't remember Madoka. She was one of the many people who didn't remember her, like everyone else. But why did why was Madoka's mom and Homura chatting like they knew each other very well? That didn't make any sense to me. It's a nitpick, but I think is worth mentioning, though. And another thing is that what were those things that Homura was fighting at the end? I mean, if Madoka rid the world of witches, who was Homura fighting? Like, that was never fucking explained at all. And it begged an explanation. Really, that was confusing as shit. Like, and of course there was the post-credit scene where she was also fighting something. No fucking clue what, though. But that's the plot and characters. You know, told you about them, everything I liked about them, everything I didn't quite like about them. I didn't think the series was perfect like a lot of people seem to tell me. Just because something revolutionizes a genre doesn't make it perfect. And since I'm a reviewer, I have to be honest. And it was really good, but it definitely had its issues. Now, talk about the music. The music was amazing, but that's because it's Yuki Kadra. Would you expect anything different? And also the opening was amazing as well. The ending was pretty decent too. Now let's talk about the art and animation. The art, for the most part, was standard magical girl fare. And at least in terms of the characters. Well, like I said, since this was done by Akiyuki Shimbo, I was really surprised they didn't have Akiyuki Shimbo's like famous art style that he does in like the Monogatari series and Mikaku City Actors and Nisekoi and what have you. Okay, I'm really surprised at that. So I guess people were lying to me when they told me that all of his series are like that, because no, they're not. Madoka Magica is proof. So yes, but anyways though. But the art I really did like. The animation's a mixed bag though, because During the fight scenes, it's amazing. But every other time, it sucks. And that's kind of disappointing. There's lots of moments when they could have improved the animation other than just the fight scenes. Or at other moments than the fight scenes, because those were really the only moments, for the most part, where the animation was good. And when it was good, it was really good, but when it was bad, it was really bad. And that was kind of disappointing in those particular instances. But anyways, I think I'm just going to wrap up this review, though, of Cruella Magi Madoka Magica, or Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica, or Magical Girl Madoka Magica. Whichever you prefer. In conclusion, I very much enjoyed this series. I thought it was very good. But it's not without its flaws. Okay. And the ending was actually quite sad, although I'm still glad that Homura was able to remember Madoka and continue fighting, even though, again, I don't know what the fuck she was fighting. Considering she was my favorite character in the series, okay. But anyways, overall, I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. See you after, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.